So the big table at Principal Financial is the single source of truth for asset information for the general account there. And so it takes information from a bunch of different asset sources and it puts it into a single big table, which is what we worked with. And with that table itself, there's a lot of different forecasting, analysis, and then ultimately decision making that happened with the output of the big table. Our project was then looking at reducing the time, effort, and headache associated with working with the big table. So specifically, we worked on 4 different objectives and deliverables. First and foremost, we created a current state flowchart to identify all the customer uses of the big table and to include the input data sources. Next, we worked on creating a documentation standards and then documenting the missing fields and assets to add to the big table. And this would give a complete picture of all of the information in the general account for that better decision making and forecasting. Next, our future state visual was going to focus on improving the efficiency of data flows into the big table and how do we incorporate all of the missing information we previously identified. And then ultimately our implementation plan will look at how do we get from where we currently are with the big table to our future state, making sure Principal has somewhere to go and next steps to take after our project is concluded.
The next step was to come up with a methodology to meet the objectives and deliverables given to us for this project. The first step was to have meetings with subject matter experts to really interview them and learn about the different sources of data that they wanted added to the big table, the data quality and any issues there might be with data quality with some of the sources, the usefulness of the information in the table, and finally, and most importantly, developing the future of the big table. After that, we left those meetings and documented the fields and assets necessary to be prepared to implement them in the future. With that information, we began our future state design, where we reviewed the submitted documentation that was provided by the client, and then we followed up with the subject matter experts as needed to clarify certain points from our interview. So the first step was coming up and understanding the current state of the big table. The big table is fed by 6 different sources that are compiled within the program. This program is then fed across into several subroutines that is used to transform the data in a way that it can be analyzed with a forecasting tool. This forecasting tool then allows the information to be compared with other sources of information in the enterprise and ultimately be combined into a single general report.
Okay. So after our interviews with the subject matter experts, where we documented all the fields and assets to add, we came up with the future state and what that will look like. We identified all of the data sources which are located at the top of this visual. These data sources provide the information relating to those fields and assets necessary for the future state of the big table. On the right-hand side includes all of the tables, including a common fields table and asset-specific tables, giving the general account all the information it needs for the future state of the big table.
There are many things that the future data lake will accomplish. For one thing, there are a lot of blank fields that were in the old big table that will be eliminated once we have asset-specific tables and a common fields table. In addition, we've identified 250 common fields that apply to each and every asset that will be located in this new future data lake, as well as 117 new fields to add to this data lake. In addition, we brought in 4 different asset groups that represent 12.6% of the general account, and have identified 8 unique flat files that feed 11 fields into the new future data lake. Finally, there will be 2 additional data sources that will be incorporated that weren't in this data lake before. In addition to these outcomes, there's some great financial opportunities here that Principal Financial Group has. For one thing, there's a lot of time spent reconciling information between various sources, and by having a single source of information, we will be able to save time and logistics. In addition, there will be no longer need to maintain a projection tool. Finally, the big reason for going to a future data lake is to be making better strategic decisions. This includes decisions related to expense management and just overall better decisions and faster decisions.